Welcome, everyone. Big welcome to the Ideation Workshop hosted by the Encode CEO and co-founder, Anthony. Welcome, Anthony.
Steve.
We're going to keep letting people in. There's a couple of announcements to be made. Big welcome to Diego and Marco from Tezos Connect team. I hope you enjoy the session by Anthony as well. And I'll be on links. The main kind of after this workshop, I really hope you can book a one-on-one call with me. I want to chat about your ideas, chat about what you're going to build, give you some advice. Hopefully no advice is needed after the workshop though. And maybe just chat about your ideas. So I'm going to drop my Calendly link in the chat right away. There we go. And please book a one-on-one call with me. I'd love to chat to you. And this week, we are going to have the Ideation Workshop by Anthony today. And then on Thursday, we're going to have another workshop by Ben from Marigold as requested by you because it was so exciting last week. And we're going to get a little bit deeper now. So please sign up to that if you haven't. And hopefully we'll see you there as well on Thursday. And a little bit more just about talent and scouting. We have a wonderful head of recruitment named Laura. So if you're looking for a job, please also book a one-on-one call with me and hopefully I'll be able to guide you in the right direction to Laura and try and get you hired within the Web3 space. Other than that, enjoy the workshop. Over to Anthony.
Hey guys, good to see you all. Happy Monday, that is the day. I'm going to take you through some ideation stuff. This is a new format to what I've done before, so hopefully it goes well. We're going to use a bit of a whiteboard. I'm going to the main point here is answering the question of what you should build in the hackathon, hopefully I'll give you some answers, or not really. No, I'll give you some good answers. So I'm going to share my screen. It is a whiteboard style. Hopefully everyone can see that nice and well. And we'll go from there. So I'm Anthony. I'm one of the co-founders of Encode. I do a lot on our investment front as well. So I try and look at, and I've seen many a hackathon project. So I try and look at this through numerous sort of different angles. But in general, obviously, you've got some challenges as you know about in the hackathon. The learn to earn, which is basically just learn. The ones I'm going to kind of focus on today are the two on the dApp side. So either build a simple dApp or a major Tezos-based project, which I read as startup, effectively. So it's basically build a dApp, build a startup, and they're broadly kind of the same thing. So we'll go from there. I'll keep a slight eye on chat and then take stuff towards the end. So I'm going to kind of basically arm you with, I have a toolkit to approach not just this hackathon, but any hackathon really. And broadly, if you're in this hackathon, you're kind of looking at building one of, I would say, two things, I guess. Let's see if I can do a nice wavy line. There we go. One of two things. One is going to be kind of, oh my God, that's not sufficiently wavy enough. There we go. So one of two things. So one is going to be a dApp, effectively, which is basically challenge one. Or I guess the other is tooling. We'll talk about tooling to begin with, because that's a sort of easy one to kind of to deal with first and foremost. You can see I'm starting on it. Look at these lovely boxes. And I will make my map available to everyone later. But probably looking at kind of tooling or dApps, and we'll deal with tooling kind of first and foremost. So the issue with tooling we mean basically, let's see if that works. That's not what I wanted. So basically anything that makes building on Tezos easier. And there's a few kind of examples here. So we could build, it could be like an SDK, that'd be a very good example. We could have an Oracle. We could have a API sort of graphing tool. We could have something like a library. Tooling is basically any of the essential infrastructure we need to kind of build an application. Now, the issue kind of with tooling is that it's fairly, how do I say, not sexy in the nicest way, mainly because it becomes very hard to make money off tooling, to be honest, in the simplest way. And there aren't many business models that really reflect, like, how do you make money on SDK? It's a fairly kind of public good. Where's my little arrow gone? Oh, do it this way. Oh, look at that beautiful arrow. I love this tooling, but it becomes hard to make money off them. And oracles, you could add token to an oracle. Graphing, you have the graph, but in general, it's hard to make money off them. So this is very much a big thing you could do. It would, but it's hard. I would actually suggest you move more onto the dApp side, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The main reason to kind of build something on the dApp side is it's easier to get traction quickly. You're like, fundamentally, people will kind of buy into your dApp as doing kind of a very kind of exciting thing, far more easier than buying into one of these, because these, like, they have to be amazing from the word go to be kind of in any way useful. So it's easy to get traction quickly, and also it's kind of I would also suggest easier to build a proof of concept that people kind of understand what it means. So that these two obvious directions, if you're really good, tooling is great, but I think you should build dApps. You also kill two birds with one stone here. And dApps are probably more investable. And the reason they're kind of more investable is there is a clear way to make money off them. There's a clear kind of upside, and that is a kind of attaching a token. So I think these are important things you should kind of think about. And the tokens aren't just for speculation. They're not just for speculation. They also bind the community together because they incentivize people to act towards one common whole. So if we are establishing that a dApp is the best way to go, next question is, well, what sort of dApps? So I think there's broadly a few areas. I have a kind of list of ones that I normally go through. So I'm going to find that list now, actually, on my other screen. Okay, so I think there's broadly a few things, a few areas. So one is kind of, I call broadly DeFi. And this is what I look for in a new ecosystem when investing. So you're getting it straight from what I think is right. Second is kind of NFT infrastructure. Third, I guess you could say DAO tooling. Fourth, I would say is kind of, I'll call it infrastructure. And then any others, I want to do any others. Maybe I'll put exotic up there. And I'm going to kind of throw ideas into each of these categories now. Again, these are all things that have done very well on other chains and in the Ethereum ecosystem for what it's worth, which is kind of gives us a litmus test that might be needed. And then you can apply the particular good things that Tezos has to make these ideas better. Or at least applicable to Tezos. Oh, look how pretty that is. So let's look at DeFi. This is kind of the obvious thing to look at first. I'm going to draw a line far, far away because, so you've obviously got things like DEXs, decentralized exchanges, things like Uniswap. You've got things like, I might get smaller boxes. You've got things like lending protocols, an obvious example. We've got AMMs, so aggregated market makers that kind of put these things together. You've got stable coins. Make that a bit smaller. You've got yield, things related to yield, and broadly kind of anything that is around money. Or any monetary use case you can kind of apply DeFi to. And we've seen lots of things in the Ethereum space, but I think these are kind of broad. That line is very wonky now, isn't it? So if it stays unwonky. Broadly, these are kind of things I'd like to see. If someone built like a state, and I'll talk a little bit specifically about any of these later. But as a simple level, I'd want to see someone kind of recreate what's necessary in the Ethereum ecosystem builds with kind of the great tools Tezos gives you. And ideally, you would kind of take it another step further. And add some innovation, especially there's like, if you're doing a stablecoin, maybe a new algorithmic stablecoin design would be really cool. If you're doing a lending protocol, maybe a new way of calculating interest rates. If you're doing a DEX, maybe different ways of doing pools. If you're doing AMM, maybe ways to make gas and kind of transaction fees cheaper. Oh, I've done stablecoins twice, haven't I? Yield. So this is broadly, and these are horribly crisscross, which is annoying. NFTs are a pretty big thing. Actually, I might tell you what I'm going to do. Stretch this out a bit. NFTs are a pretty big thing on Tezos. Got a lot of kind of hype recently. But when I talk about NFTs, I kind of more mean the kind of core infrastructure kind of surrounding them. And I really want to move these over. That's not going to work. That's not too bad. So I mean things like marketplaces, competitors to OpenSea, aggregators, lending, swaps, and kind of even cool things like generative NFTs. These are all kind of 5, I think, particularly good ideas that you can certainly apply when you're kind of doing NFT-based stuff. And that I'd really like to see, and that's better than just being like, oh, I did my own sale. Like, sales are fine, they're great, but I don't think they're innovative, or at least they're not innovative in the ways we want. And I wish these wouldn't crisscross, because it's really annoying me. And DAO tooling, anyone that took part in our DAO kind of tooling or our DAO hackathon might have heard me kind of mention these things before, but I'll kind of mention them again because I think they're particularly important. But I want things like different ways to do governance. That's good. I'm going to move this down. Governance would be an obvious thing. I want different ways of doing kind of messaging. Different platforms for socializing, better versions of Discord. These are 3 obvious things that I think could easily be innovated upon and would be really valuable to the Tezos space, especially as kind of DAOs progress into the future. And now we go on to kind of infrastructure. So these would be things like, I guess this is dApp. I'm going to maybe infrastructure is better left to the tooling. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe like naming services is a good one. That would be quite an obvious one to have, to be honest. What about things like a launchpad? That could itself be a dApp. That's kind of a nice one as well. Kind of easy ways, kind of launch projects. And also kind of, again, oracles themselves are dApps, so this would be like a good thing to do. And exotic, I think, is we get into some really interesting kind of areas here, kind of very highly investable stuff at the moment. So you've got things like applying ZK, zero knowledge, and kind of stuff that's kind of broadly, I guess I'll put it here, privacy preserving. So this is a nice thing as well. This I'm going to actually move across. Other things, by the way, that I want to put here is derivatives and options. Kind of obvious thing to have a look at. Other cool things that I'd love to see. Exotic's not the right way, but I'm going to do an other. I'll put exotic and other. So prediction markets, things like Polymarket, but on Tezos. I'd love to see, what else would I love to see? I tell you what, we haven't mentioned at all is gaming. It actually deserves the whole cash treat to itself. And the important thing to note with gaming is that, in fact, I'm going to make this bigger. We can put it in its own section. One thing to note with gaming is it is rare for the game itself to be on chain. Rather, the proof of results and assets, as well as asset training, is on chain. Sorry, no, it's on ideation. Just cool ideas you can build. So, with this in mind, this kind of links back to NFTs, but I should have 100% put it here. I'll put it in here now. Gaming assets. Anyone that wants to build a game that uses NFTs or that uses that has DeFi built as part of it, this would be crypto, and Tezos is absolutely perfect for this. Cool. So these are loads of ideas, but obviously there should be another approach, which is kind of, I guess, method. that I'll talk about now. I'll tell you what I'm going to use. And the first thing to kind of note here is that you first of all need to decide your level, because clearly, like, I'm going to assume here you want to build a startup, which not everyone wants to do. You could just want to kind of do something small, like build your skill set. The other thing is kind of decide your ambition. Again, like, what is best to win a prize is not necessarily the best to win a startup. There's plenty of startups that we've invested in, that we've seen, that like aren't the best thing in the hackathon, but are the most investable. They're not necessarily the same thing at any one point. A very good example is Reflexer Labs, that goes on to raise a lot of money as Rye. Did not win our hackathon, but it was the most successful project in that hackathon. It's just because at the stage it was quite early in its process. Also decide how much time you have. So another factor here is like, if you've just got a week, it's a 4-week hackathon, we're a week in, I think. If you've only got like a weekend to spend, like, you're not going to be able to build much. If you've got 4 weeks to spend, you'll build a lot more. So whatever you build and whatever you can decide here, and of course you can decide to do many other things apart from this, it really is a product of these two things. Like how good you are, how much time you have, and how ambitious you want to be. And I guess here is also linked to this is kind of, what is your aim? And you can have several aims, I would say. You can have kind of, let's make this smaller. It could just be improve projects. What's the word? Repository. That's actually completely the wrong word. It could be something as simple as kind of improve past work examples. It could be to win money. It could be to learn. It could be to start. There's kind of several things you could want to do within a hackathon. And again, what you do, what you build really does depend on this. And I'm going to next kind of go on to, like, I would say, top tips or things I recommend doing as part of this process, and what to actually focus on, because it's not obvious what you should focus on. And obviously, feel free to interrupt with any questions. Should we see what this looks like from the outside now? Okay, that looks ugly, but it could look a lot less ugly. Or could look a lot more ugly as well. So top tips. One is that I think functionality matters the most, but after a certain point, a marginal minute spent on front end matters more. What this means is, once you've established the core functionality of an app and how it kind of works, actually how it looks and how that kind of communicates to the user matters more. And I was looking through, we'd see a lot of hackathon projects, and honestly, the ones that have good front ends immediately stand out first because they're visually appealing. So I think after a certain point, once it works, because working is the most thing that matters most, every extra minute you can spend on front end is a better minute spent than on, like, it doesn't really matter if there's a bug, if it kind of fundamentally works, or at least works on the demo situation, because you'll usually only have to demo it. You don't have to hand it to users to play with. So top tips: functionality matters the most. At some point, every marginal minute spent on front end matters. Second kind of thing to kind of note is look at Ethereum. Like, look at successful use cases. Look at what's been done before. Look at their errors, and then look at, like, what does Tezos do specifically. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, especially in this hackathon. Now, I'm not saying that Tezos is in any way inferior to Ethereum. Certainly not. What I am saying is that a lot more stuff has been built in the Ethereum space, for right or wrong. And therefore, you can look at stuff that's done before, and you don't have to change the world with this. It's a hackathon project. You don't need to change the world. You just need to build something. And the second thing is finishers tend to win. People kind of think by not submitting something, they won't win something. I find in hackathons that finishers tend to win big money, and also finishers always seem to win a prize, or sorry, not always, but a large majority of the time win a prize. And often hackathon providers, organizers, protocols are generous in the end in the final reckoning. By giving out extra prizes. So this is just a thing. Well, always submit something. What else is there to say? Use support. I mean, and the best place to go to is the Tezos Discord. I mean, there's a lot of people there ready to and willing to help you that are better than us. So go directly to them and get involved. And this also for free gets you involved in the ecosystem. So these are kind of my main, I guess, top tips about succeeding in hackathons. There's many more things I could add. That's wrote all of my things. But these are kind of 4 things I think you should kind of focus on. I think this is kind of the most contrarian advice. Front end actually really does matter in a hackathon. Okay, let's take stock of where we are so far. So we started by saying it's kind of broadly 2 things you can build: tooling and dApps. Tooling is great, but it's hard. And maybe I'll put one more thing here. If you can pull it off, this is insanely valuable and will do well in a hack. It's just hard. Like if it's tooling, it's like stuff other people have to use. Like the standard needs to be like incredibly high. So if you are going to do anything like this is hard. So I suggest you build a dApp, and again, the challenge is to set up kind of more focused towards dApps. There's probably 5 areas I've definitely kind of taken some shortcuts here, but like infrastructure, DAOs, NFT related stuff, not NFTs themselves, but these kind of things attributed to kind of broadly DeFi and exotic, maybe something with ZK, prediction markets, kind of gaming. They're not exotic. I'll call this other. Exotic is only referring to ZK. These got a list of cool ideas, all very investable, by the way. I've tried to filter for the investable stuff. Next thing to say is there's kind of a method to doing this, which is really you need to decide how much time you have, your level and your ambition, and what your aim is. And there are many different aims you can have, and it doesn't matter which one you have. The most important thing is you're here, you're building up your CV, which is the most important thing. And I'm kind of giving my top tips, which is to use support, which tells Discord. Always submit something, especially because we have the easy challenges where you should get something just for doing a little bit. Functionality matters the most, but if you can spend time on front end, I think that really matters. And other thing, by the way, it goes without saying, it's part of submissions, but having a great GitHub README really helps. And also a great video. And look at Ethereum, you don't need to change the world, you just need to build something. So that's my kind of general overview of ideation, I would say. And honestly, if you build one of these ideas and you stick by this advice and you're ambitious and you're good and you have time, you'll build something very investable, which I think is kind of a nice thing to attract you. And we have a dedicated investment fund ready to kind of help you out. So that's a whistle-stop tour of ideation. It's good, easy, to the point. I hand back to the nice quick one. I hand back to Jake.
Lovely, thank you so much, Anthony. That was an info-filled session in half an hour. That was awesome. Are you sure nobody has questions? This is your last chance to shoot away to Anthony. He's seen, many a project, so last kind of chance. In the meantime, I'll just quickly chat. Please just the learn to earn challenge is still there. There's still a couple $50 available, so if you are kind of just wanting to improve your skill set, easy $50 there. Just go submit. All you got to do is, I think one is deploy a smart contract, the other one is mint an NFT. So If you have some time this week, go and do it. There's still quite a few spots open to win $50. But with nobody having questions, I think we'll call it there. Anthony, thank you so much for taking your time to come give the presentation. And yeah, thank you. What are the deadlines to make it happen? The deadlines will be the submission date. Submission is on the 15th of May. So you still have until the 15th of May. But yeah, as Vanessa said, as soon as possible, because it's the first 50 submissions. So it will run out fairly quickly. But yeah, if there's no more questions, we'll call it there. Once again, thanks, Anthony, and thank you to everyone that came. Please book a one-on-one call with me, or just ping me on Discord if you have anything you want to know, and enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thank you.